So with the danger of sounding like I'm stuck on repeat, we then, if we go for future relationships, we really want to understand, a relationship that they've been in. So if they've ended a relationship, we want to see, okay, well, what was the representation of the energy out and the energy in, the nature of the energies between them. So very much a repeat thing. And then what we want to do with that is we want to then go into a future relationship. So now we understand this current relationship. That's really what we want to look at. And then when we go towards a future relationship, we want to then see, okay, well, what is something that we're going to land up in the future? We basically bring them together with a partner on our reading screen. We then see, okay, well, what is the dynamics between those two people? We've got two relationships. We've got, say, a past relationship or present relationship, and we've got a future relationship that they could have potentially with someone, one that's maybe coming up, and we can look at the same dynamics, the energy in and out, what's the nature of the energies, what is the shared interest, how do they contribute, does the same pattern repeat? So that's what we want to see. If they go towards a future relationship, does the same thing happen again? The spoiler alert, most often it does. Okay, so when a person's in a relationship that doesn't work and they go to a next relationship, they formed a pattern about relationships generally, and that could change. Absolutely, they could have done a lot of work on themselves and they enter into a new relationship, and then that new relationship could really potentially pay off for them, where it then is a lot more conducive to what they want. It could add a lot more to them. So the new relationship could be very different. It could add a lot more to them. It could really have different dynamics. So that the past problem could really have been with the person. They have identified the problem in themselves. They solved that problem within themselves, and then move to a new relationship. And you see, okay, now we've got completely different dynamics. Okay, well, if you get out of this relationship and into a new one, you are not going to have a repeat of this. You've actually got the potential to get a really good relationship. This is really what we want to do. We want to compare, okay, well, what is the comparison between these two? Okay, we have our future relationship, we have the current or past one, and then we compare the two. We say, okay, well, what's the comparison? Are you moving towards something better? Are you moving towards something that's more helpful or not? If it's not, then you can say to them, look, you're going to have maybe a repeat of whatever happened before, or you're going to, you've really worked hard on yourself and you're not going to have a repeat. You're going to have something that's a lot better. So something for them to look forward to, then they can then understand that their collective efforts will probably pay off, and you see that paying off for them in future on your reading screen when you compare them and someone new. All right, so very much for future relationships, that's what we want. Comparison, see where they're going towards, and a lot of the times when they're in a relationship, I know when I do readings with relationships, often two people would have a problem between them, but they want to get out of the relationship. When you put them into a new relationship, the same thing repeats, and you say to them, understand that you have this problem and it exists and it will continue to exist. You need to address it. And then we can look around and say, okay, well, what can this, this is where we can then play around with different scenarios, and you can say, okay, well, what does this person and that person do? So I'll make the people do different things. So we do the role playing thing again, where people do different things, and we see, okay, well, how can this person balance out their life or their relationships, and what can they do in order to make it more balanced, in order for them to get something better in the end? So this is something we can absolutely do and play around with and give them that information. In the end, their life is theirs to live, and they've got to make the choices. They've got to introduce the changes into their relationships and into themselves. They've got to do the work. So really not our task. We basically just look at different energetic scenarios, look at it from a very eagle point of view, from a very objective point of view, and then give them a nice rundown of what's the potential of what they could do.